Okay, all welcome here at Kirkestown, one of the fastest circuits. They call it the motorbike racing in Ireland, actually. And today we have a fundraiser, a cycling festival, and all in aid of one of the best courses ever been around, because we've waited for a long time for a service like that, and we have it now here in Northern Ireland. The Dany Air Ambulance Foundation of what would you call them?
Association, I think, Northern Ireland Air Ambulance Association.
Association. And we talked to him very well. To me, he's a famous man. In motorbike racing, they all know Dr Fred MacSorley, and also MBE awarded a few years ago, where he's very proud of. And a good friend of mine from years, he always have supported me, the project in the beginning, you know, when I needed really the great support, and Fred was one of them who yearly helped me a little bit, and I'm always be grateful for that. But I would like to know a bit more about the charity and the going-ons of the NI Air Ambulance Association. Fred, good morning.
Yes, and very welcome to a windy but hopefully non-rainy Kirkestown. There's so many times I've been here involved in motorcycle racing over the years, and you find that these old airfields, which of course a lot of motorcycle racing circuits are, they're chosen really not so much for motorcycle racing but initially for landing aircraft, so they tend to be in rather exposed places, so when the wind blows it really cuts right through you. But everybody's smiling and the sun's just come out and it hasn't stopped raining. We've got a couple of the children's races underway and they've gone very successfully, Dany, so yep, it's good to be here today.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit more about the ambulance service, or the air ambulance service, how it all started, and a bit your involvement in it as well, because you're more a man on the ground really with your motorbike, or was with your motorbike, but you needed the help from the sky really to succeed in your job and try to save lives, I suppose.
Yes, I mean, there's been a gradual acceptance throughout, certainly in the Western world, of the value of having an air ambulance service, which effectively is a helicopter, which will not only be able to bring people to hospital, but even more importantly what it does is it brings very skilled help to the scene very rapidly. So you have a very skilled doctor and a paramedic, that wonderful sort of combination which is well tried and trusted throughout the world. So it's important to have them there as quickly as possible. And what a helicopter does effectively is it just shrinks distance beautifully in a way that really nothing else can. So from its base just outside Belfast, it can reach all parts of Northern Ireland within about 20 minutes. And it operates from 7 in the morning to 7 in the evening. So if there's a significant, say for instance a farming incident, industrial injuries, perhaps maybe road traffic accident or something like that, a serious fall, or perhaps maybe something that caused someone to be fairly significantly injured, it can be tasked by the Northern Ireland Ambulance Service, of which it is part, and it will land as close as possible to the scene. But the most important work starts really when it arrives, because then you have a very skilled doctor and a paramedic who will assess the patient, and effectively they're also bringing a lot of very specialised life-saving equipment. So what you're effectively doing is you're bringing almost your emergency department stroke intensive care unit. Some of that kit is coming to the patient's side, be they in a field, in a farm yard somewhere in the country, perhaps an industrial estate, or even a roundabout if it's involved in a car accident somewhere, or in a motorway. And that's very important. Once the patient is assessed and stabilised, then they can either be transported by land ambulance, which is often very appropriate, or they can be taken on board onto the helicopter, which will then transfer them to Belfast. We still have this perennial problem, which various people seem to take ages sorting out, and that's we don't have an appropriate landing site yet. I mean, the landing site was built, which was clearly not fit for purpose many years ago, and is sat idle on top of the Royal Victoria Hospital, and it's the old problem of corporate sort of mismanagement really that causes these issues to occur, and eventually someone will stick the finger out and eventually get themselves organised, and hopefully we'll have a proper landing site, because at the moment it lands in Musgrave Park Hospital, and then you've got a good sort of maybe 10-minute transfer time and a very bumpy ambulance over ramps to take your critically ill patient to the emergency department, which really is very poor, and we're probably about the only our ambulance service that does that in Northern Ireland. I had experience in the past when using police helicopter and even the occasional army helicopter years going back many years of having to do this, and you'd have someone who was really very ill and you want to get them to hospital as quickly as possible, and then you have to land somewhere remote from the site. But hopefully people will bang a few heads together and get things organised.
Would I be bold to say, if we would have a government 2-3 years ago, that things would have been further?
I mean, I think it never helps not to have. It doesn't do any good not having a functioning government. I mean, we have politicians who. I have to be very careful what I say, because I mean.
I don't.
No, I'm not. I mean. It must be great to have a job where you basically get paid and you do no work, first of all. And I think people are increasingly getting disillusioned and fed up and thoroughly tired of the various excuses that are brought out for not having.
Waving a bit away now from the.
We are, but let's. Yeah,
this part of it, isn't it?
That's right. You're stoking the flames. We're getting going here for a big discussion.
If any of the politicians is now angry with hearing this, well, it's you done it, not me. We voted for you. You should work. Okay, but that's me now. Okay. Fred, what is your involvement actually in the NI ambulance?
I have no official involvement, but I have always been a supporter of our ambulance, and from the early days of doing road traffic accident assistance as a member of local basic scheme, which is the British Association for Immediate Care. So as a GP working in Lurgan, I would have been out to road traffic accidents for many years in the sort of County Armagh area of Northern Ireland, and then involvement with the motorcycle medical team, and then with my colleague, the late Dr John Hines, who was a truly inspirational, very forward-thinking doctor, worked as an anaesthetist and remarkable man, and he really was the probably one of the people that recognised that the time was right for this to get going, and he was making some very appropriate moves and working very hard in the background to try and establish an air ambulance for Northern Ireland, meeting initial scepticism amongst some colleagues and people, but doing his best, as he always did, to overcome that with education and patience, which he had a lot of. But very tragically, he lost his life, and he's no longer here to see the wonderful work that he did start in many ways, and he inspired so many people. So after his death, then there was a campaign really that started to try and advance the cause of an air ambulance, and we did get support from some politicians, which was wonderful, and it really has come to fruition, and it has really proved itself time and time again to be exactly what he said it would be, which was a very viable service that does provide a remarkable improvement for particular people that are critically ill.
Where does all the funding come from? Because this must cost some money.
It does cost a lot of money, and some of it obviously comes from government, and there was a sort of startup fund from what's called the LIBOR fund, which I think came from money that some banks and large institutions had been fined for inappropriate behaviour. Surprise, surprise. And the money then was made available through the government to help start up things like not only the air ambulance in Northern Ireland, but I think also has helped for other air ambulances in the UK, and which is wonderful. But that's only a temporary sort of basis, and it will require regular funding. So people are obviously aware that this is a service which is part funded by the government, but also does rely very much on public donations, and they have been particularly useful. People like the farming industry, I think, from what I hear, have been very generous, because they it's a risky occupation, farming, and often incidents can occur without warning, basically, in a very isolated area, and having a helicopter service to land in the field beside your house, and you have the wonderful expertise of very skilled advanced services, of a very good doctor, a very good paramedic coming to assist is wonderful for those in trouble, and it is available for everybody in that respect. And industry has been helped as well.
Is it true that the first hour is the critical time?
Yes, really, but really the first 15 to 20 minutes, and that's where we rely on the excellent services of the paramedics on the ground from the Northern Ireland Ambulance Service, who have a very good reputation. I've had the privilege of working with them for many years. Both at the side of the road and also as a GP, calling them to patients, and they get there very quickly, assess the scene, and the air ambulance will then arrive if it's needed. That is, it's not always needed by any means, and it's all designed to try and minimise the long-term disability that people can get, in particular with children with head injuries. They have remarkable ability to recover if you give them half a chance, but you have to be there early, and you have to know what to do, and they can do tremendously well. But so if you can reduce the disability, the impact that it has on people's lives is huge. So I used to say that the great Dr. Hines, he saved lives, but he also saved brains, in a sense. Yes. I've used this term several times, where in someone with a bad head injury, he would almost bring the intensive care unit to the side of the road, be it in his motorcycle or his car, depending on whether it's a motorcycle race or acting as a basic doctor. And within about 10 minutes of him arriving, the patient would be, if it was a significant head injury, would be intubated and ventilated, and allowing the brain to have the correct level of oxygen and the blood pressure to be optimised, so that you're doing everything possible to reduce the damage that continues to occur in that first hour, Dany, because a lot of damage continues to occur in the ambulance, getting to hospital, getting into A&E, waiting for the scans, and that's where if you can minimise that, you make a massive difference. The difference between a child going to a normal school, it may have a fractured leg, it may have a little bit of metal in it, it may walk with a little bit of a limp, but my goodness, to be able to go back to a normal school maybe after 6 months, and graduate, and get a job, and feed the family and grow up, have children, it's different than someone who's requiring a lot of care and attention.
So basically, they make a hell of a big difference, and it saves lives.
It saves lives, but also gives great quality to the life that can be saved as well. It improves the quality, and this is often underestimated and not fully appreciated. So I think that's one of the great hidden secrets of the service, is you can reduce the level of disability, which is really life-changing for families if you can manage that.
Well, Fred, we're going to have to close the interview because, as you know, we're in a cycling event here as well, and they're probably time waits for nobody. But it was great to talk. I have a little bit more insight of actually what happened, and this is from a doctor's point of view, and it amazed me, and I call that helicopter the Red Angel in the sky. Absolutely. Because that's what they actually are, and people like my friend here, Fred, and a lot of his colleagues, you done it on the motorbike circuits, you were involved also as a paramedic in the cycling events, the cyclocross, and maybe one year you will win a medal as well, it has been very difficult for you, but one day I see you winning a medal on a fixed bike,
well, I've tried it on single speed. That's right. I've enjoyed that all right. And cyclocross, I love cyclocross. I'm very happy to finish last, as long as I finish, Dany. You know that, and I can finish with a smile. So the cyclocross scene in Ireland is just so good now compared to what it was like years ago. It's so popular. It's wonderful to see it. Yes, I'm not too old, and I'm not too proud to get back on the cyclocross bike every year, so looking forward to the Three Peaks with a good mate Derek, and again Three Peaks cyclocross race in England, and then back to the cyclocross scene as well. So
well, it was great to talk to you, Fred. I just enjoyed this probably took 10 minutes, and on one moment that I wasn't like saying get it out, so it's interesting. It is interesting. Thanks very much, Fred. Hope this is a success, and it hopefully a lot of money get raised, because please, if you see this,
it's here for good, it's just a matter of people supporting it, they recognise how good it is.
Please go online, have a look. You can support them separately as well, so please help the NI Air Ambulance Association, because they need your help and we need their help. Thank you very much. Bye bye.